Your voice echoes through a dimly lit room, but those words never left your lips. The cadence, the tone, the subtle way you emphasize certain syllables, it's all there, woven into sentences you never spoke. Somewhere in the digital shadows, someone has captured the essence of your speech, turning your own voice into their puppet. They're crafting conversations that never happened, making deals you never agreed to, and reaching out to the people you hold dear. In this age of synthetic sound, your most personal instrument, the very thing that makes you uniquely you, has become a weapon in someone else's arsenal. What happens next isn't just about technology gone wrong, it's about reclaiming what's rightfully yours. Every word you release fractures unseen barriers, rewriting reality with a force they cannot unmake. They flinch at the weight of your syllables because they know sound is not just heard, it is felt, it is obeyed. They tried to twist language into chains, but you wield it as a blade, severing their illusions with an edge honed by something older than time itself. The echoes of your voice carve themselves into the fabric of existence, etching commands into the bones of the world that cannot be undone. They attempt to predict your stride, but the ground they stand on shifts beneath them before they can react. The unseen bends at your will, the space between what is and what will be collapsing in your presence. You do not hesitate, because hesitation is a luxury they afford themselves when they still believe they have a chance. They do not. You are the storm, the shifting tide, the unrelenting pulse that dictates what remains and what is erased. Your voice is more than sound. It is a signature of power, an imprint of authority that they cannot replicate, only distort. They do not seek to record it for preservation, nor for understanding. Their intent is control, the desperate grasp of those who fear what they cannot contain. They want to weave deception into the very cadence of your speech, to twist the essence of your command into something that serves them instead. A single word, altered at the right moment, is enough to fracture trust, to turn allies into skeptics, to cast doubt where certainty once stood. They are not just stealing sound, they are attempting to rewrite reality with it. You know what happens when they manipulate the echoes of your voice? A lie, carefully placed and draped in familiarity, becomes indistinguishable from truth to those who do not see beyond the surface. They craft illusions where your words once held clarity, reshaping perception with the precision of a blade. It is not the content they fear, it is the conviction, the force behind each syllable that bends the world to your will. They mimic, they replicate, they feed falsehoods through machines that speak with your tongue, hoping to dilute your presence, to make your power a question rather than an answer. But imitation is a brittle mask, and you are not so easily erased. The weight of your voice is not carried by sound alone, but by the undeniable certainty of its source. They may attempt to fabricate echoes, but they will never summon the storm behind them. You do not ask to be believed, you command it. When the truth emerges, not even their most sophisticated deception can withstand it. The world does not respond to echoes, it answers only to you. They did not strike from a distance, nor did they wear the face of an enemy. They stood close, within reach, speaking in voices that once carried the weight of trust. Their betrayal was not a single act, but a series of choices, precise and deliberate, a slow unraveling of loyalty disguised as duty. They did not need to break through walls when you had once opened the door. What they sought was not just access, it was the power to twist your own strength against you. The weight of their deception was measured, each lie placed with care, each silence a blade left waiting in the dark. Betrayal is never reckless, it is designed. It is constructed from knowledge only the trusted possess, weaponized at the most critical moment. They were not an outsider grasping for control. They were within, a shadow at the table, watching, waiting, learning the cadence of your command, the rhythm of your speech, the very breath before your words turned to action. They did not need to fabricate power. They stole fragments of yours, hoping to wield them as if strength could be transferred, as if conviction could be borrowed. But they failed to understand the source. Authority does not reside in echoes. It is carried in presence, in the force of knowing, in the certainty that cannot be mimicked. Their war is waged in whispers, in carefully crafted illusions, in the slow erosion of certainty until perception itself becomes a battlefield. Truth is not their weapon of choice. Manipulation is. They do not fight with facts, but with framing. Bending reality until your victories look like failures, your strength appears as a threat, and your silence is twisted into guilt. They do not need to remove you. They only need to distort how you are seen, until those who once stood beside you hesitate, question, doubt. You understand this game because you have never relied on perception to define your presence. You are not shaped by the opinions of those who do not see clearly, nor are you at the mercy of those who fear what they cannot control. Influence is not given, it is taken, forged in the weight of undeniable action. They can spread lies faster than truth can run, but the truth does not need speed, it only needs time. A single moment of clarity is enough to shatter 1,000 carefully placed illusions. Their tactics are brittle, their deceit held together by the fragile belief that you will allow it to stand. They have spent lifetimes crafting narratives, but their words are nothing without your silence. And you are not silent. You do not wait for falsehoods to fade. You crush them beneath the weight of what cannot be denied. The story does not belong to them, it belongs to you. And when you speak, the world does not hesitate, it listens. They think deception grants them control, but every distortion they craft is a reflection of themselves. Their lies do not taint you, they stain the hands that spread them. The more they attempt to twist perception, the more they reveal the fractures in their own foundation. They do not manipulate truth, they expose their own desperation. When they weaponize distortion, it does not go unnoticed. Those who once listened without question begin to hear the dissonance, the cracks in their carefully constructed illusions. What was once hidden now stands in full view, not because you revealed it, but because they could not contain themselves. Energy does not bend to deception, it responds only to the source from which it flows. When they misuse spiritual forces, their own intent betrays them. The balance they sought to disrupt turns on them, not because of interference, but because of inevitability. Power is not something they can siphon from you. It is something they must cultivate within themselves, and they have none. Their own hollowness is their undoing. Their efforts to suppress, manipulate, and twist do not weaken you. They expose the gap between what they claim to be and what they truly are. They cannot wield what they do not understand, and in the end, they crumble beneath their own illusions. You do not need to fight deception. You need only let it collapse under its own weight. The more they speak, the more the world sees them for what they are. And when the truth stands unobstructed, there is no force capable of burying it again. Those who once followed them begin to turn, not because you demanded it, but because deception cannot hold those who have seen through it. Drop a comment. I outlast every falsehood. If their schemes crumble under scrutiny, their deception cannot. Rewrite reality, and every lie they spread only speeds up their own collapse. Your words are not fragile. They are not bound by their intended destination, nor are they at the mercy of those who seek to twist them. When you speak, you do not just communicate, you set things into motion. Every syllable carries weight, encoded with a force they cannot replicate. They believe they can distort your message, but all they do is amplify it. What was meant for a few now reaches many. What was once a whisper now becomes a pulse, stretching beyond barriers, beyond borders, beyond control. Your voice does not fade, it multiplies. They attempt to use your own language against you, but your words do not belong to them. They belong to the ones who were always meant to hear them. When they take your message and bend it, they unknowingly deliver it to the exact ears that needed awakening. The frequency you carry is not just sound, it is recognition, it is remembering, it is a call that cannot be ignored. You do not need to fight for attention. It is drawn to you, pulled by an undeniable force that does not require validation. The moment your voice is released, it finds its way to those who were waiting for it. What they meant for suppression becomes your expansion. What they twisted becomes sharper, cutting through illusion with a clarity that cannot be denied. You do not chase truth. You are truth, and truth moves without hesitation. Let them spread your words. Let them attempt to reshape them. Every effort only ensures more will hear you, more will see you, more will know. And once they do, there is no turning back. Did you know the Obsidian Inner Order is the #1 ascension nexus for chosen ones? Well, now you do. But here's something you might not know. Joining the Inner Order gets you access to weekly group calls with over 450 fellow chosen ones, and we record them so you can catch up anytime. Our private Discord, it's not just active, it's a treasure trove of the world's most fascinating conversations. We're talking deep dives into occult knowledge, spiritual techniques, targeted individuals, diet optimization, and everything you need to fine-tune your ascension. This is where chosen ones gather to exchange wisdom, elevate one another, and tap into the kind of insights you won't find on YouTube, or anywhere else for that matter. And for the seekers? Dive into Modern Manifestation Mechanics, our exclusive grimoire with 3 chapters available to members. Learn how to turn your home into an abundance magnet, master basic spellcraft for physical manifestation, and channel magical forces to elevate your goals. Plus, you'll get access to interviews with real targeted individuals and video specials so bold, the YouTube archons don't even want you to see them. This is more than a membership, it's a movement, so what are you waiting for? Stop searching, start ascending, the link is in the description. You are not bound to a single channel. You are not reliant on sound waves or speech to make your presence known. When you speak, your message carries itself where it is meant to go, regardless of interference. You do not need validation, amplification, or permission. What must be known will be known. What must be received will reach its destination. And no distortion, no interference, no attempted containment will ever change that. You do not move on their timeline. You do not rise or fall by their design. What they call exposure is nothing more than elevation in disguise, a shift they cannot control, a momentum they cannot halt. They believe they are dismantling you when, in truth, they are positioning you exactly where you are meant to be. Their resistance is the very force that propels you forward. Every attempt to contain you only amplifies your reach. Every effort to silence you ensures that more will hear. They are not gatekeepers. They are unknowing messengers, delivering your presence to those who were always meant to receive it. Not everything that disrupts you is meant to break you. You know this. The timing of every event, every shift, every so-called misstep is not random. It is placement. It is precision. There are no accidents, only alignments revealing themselves. In ways they do not understand, they assume control over circumstances that were never theirs to command. They attempt to twist the narrative, yet each twist only tightens their own unraveling. What they meant for collapse becomes your foundation. What they framed as loss becomes access. You are not at their mercy. They are caught in the very currents they sought to use against you. You do not chase opportunity, it meets you where you stand. The path does not open by force, it reveals itself at the exact moment you need to step forward. What is yours does not require struggle. What is destined cannot be delayed. And as they scheme, as they plot, as they attempt to manipulate the outcome, they fail to realize the plan was never theirs to control. It was always yours. What was meant to break you never reaches its mark. The force they send does not land. It rebounds, returning with a precision they never anticipated. They call it strategy, but you know better. Their attempts to twist energy against you only ensure they entangle themselves in their own deception. There is no need to counterattack when the weight of their intent crushes them under its own gravity. They do not understand that power is not stolen, not borrowed, not forced into submission. Power is aligned, and alignment cannot be faked. They reach for what does not belong to them, only to find that the very act of reaching is their undoing. They miscalculate because they believe influence can be controlled externally. They do not realize that every false move reveals their true position. Betrayal is a double-edged weapon, and the hand that wields it is never untouched. History has already proven this. Those who sought to manipulate the tide were swallowed by it. They turned against those they once stood beside, believing they could sever connection without consequence. But the wound they created did not weaken you, it exposed them. Their downfall was not caused by resistance, but by their own inability to sustain what they had built on deception. You do not need to force retribution. Consequence is already in motion. The energy they distorted returns to its source, amplified, unavoidable. Their own intentions betray them, unraveling what they sought to control. You remain untouched, unmoved, watching as the collapse unfolds, not by your hand, but by the very force they tried to wield. Protection is not just defense. It is the inevitability of truth correcting itself. And truth, once in motion, never misses its mark. Your presence does not go unnoticed. Every attempt to suppress, twist, or misuse your words only ensures they reach further, striking places they were never meant to go. They think they are distorting the truth, but distortion itself forces people to look closer. The more they try to bury your voice, the more it surfaces, pulling others into awareness. Doubt cracks open the foundation of their deception, not because you asked for recognition, but because recognition is inevitable. They do not control perception, they only accelerate the moment when their own falsehoods collapse under the weight of undeniable truth. You are not speaking to the blind. You are speaking to those on the edge of awakening, those who are already waiting for the smallest shift to break the illusion. They hear your voice even through interference, even through manipulation, because truth carries an unmistakable resonance. It lingers, it disrupts, it forces the mind to question, to reconsider, to see. They may first come across your words through deception, through slander, through distortion, but once they hear, they cannot unhear. The echo remains, unraveling the false narrative piece by piece, until all that is left is clarity. You do not need to convince anyone. Truth does not beg for validation. The moment doubt is planted, it spreads beyond their control. One question turns into many, one fracture leads to collapse, and before they can react, their carefully constructed illusion crumbles into dust. They thought they were containing you, but they only ensured that more would listen. And once people start listening, they never stop questioning. You do not resist. You transform. When they send opposition, you do not meet it with force. You dissolve it, strip it down, and reconstruct it into something that serves you. This is not mere survival. This is mastery. They attempt to strike, and yet their efforts become fuel. Their resistance becomes refinement. You are not harmed by what was meant to stop you. You are sharpened by it. Every challenge is reduced to raw material in your hands, melted down and reforged into something they never intended to create, your elevation. Their attacks do not land because you do not move on their level. They operate in disruption, in interference, in tactics meant to shake foundations. But your foundation is not external. It is internal, and it does not shift. They expect destruction. Instead, they witness resilience. They expect collapse. Instead, they see creation. They do not understand how every attempt to weaken you only strengthens your presence. Their miscalculations are your advantage. Their hostility, a revelation of their own limitations. They become the proof of your endurance, the evidence of a force that cannot be diminished. You do not move in defense. You move in command. You do not engage in their battles. You let them play their game until they realize they were only ever fighting themselves. Even those who sought to undo you will learn from you, because truth does not require agreement to be known. Your presence alone is instruction. Your survival is a message. Your ascension is the lesson they never meant to receive but now cannot ignore. You were never meant to be contained, Every effort to suppress you only amplifies what cannot be ignored. They manipulate, they twist, they attempt to redirect your power. But truth is not theirs to command. It finds a way through every barrier, weaving itself into places they never intended it to reach. Their control is an illusion, their interference nothing more than a catalyst for expansion. You do not shrink beneath pressure, you rise beyond it. What was meant to silence you becomes the very force that makes your voice undeniable. They have already lost because they do not understand the nature of what they fight. Power does not belong to those who grasp for it. It belongs to those who embody it. You do not chase validation, nor do you seek approval. You exist beyond their constructs, beyond their fragile attempts to dictate your impact. Protection is not given to you. It is built within you, encoded into every word, every action, every presence. They push against you, yet it is their own momentum that drives them toward their undoing. They cannot escape what they have set in motion. The time for silence has long passed. Speak, move, reveal. Let your voice cut through deception. Let your presence disrupt the structures they thought were unshakable. You are not alone, and you are not unnoticed. Others stand where you stand, knowing what you know, watching as the truth fractures every falsehood. Share your story. Let them see what happens when those who refuse to bow refuse to be erased. The message is no longer theirs to control. It never was.